Right now, okay. So, well, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can hear.
Problem, right? So that's why I also was waiting for half an hour. It doesn't matter. We'll start the work, right? Okay. So now let me see. Okay, we have only 2 students. Ilma is there and Tharani, you are there. Right, okay. We'll start the discussion anyway, right? No time to wait for now. Right, so let me share the screen. Right, so hope you can see my screen. Now, only yesterday, we have been talking about grammar. Okay, so talking in the sense, we started to talk about this grammar, the term grammar in brief. Right, don't think that we are going to talk about English grammar in detail in this small section. No, it's not like that. Okay, now we are what we are doing at the moment is to look at the language, right? The concept called language from different aspects. So here, when we talk about any language in the world, we can't forget or we can't leave out the word grammar. That much, the word grammar is bound with the word language. Okay, so therefore, that's why we are going to have a brief look in passing about what is grammar in any language. So when we look at grammar, of course, we can observe the grammar concept existing in different ways. So we have as a whole, right? The major idea we have grammar that refers to the word grammar that refers to the rules or principles by which a language works, which means now simply to say, when we talk about the grammar or the set of grammar of any language, what do we mean? Simply the rules, right? The grammar rules, or else the principles by which that language works. Okay, so that is the mechanism upon which any language functions. Without grammar, no language can function. So that is the simple idea, simple and the brief idea behind the word grammar. But at the same time, I ask you to pay your attention to internalized grammar. Right? There are certain terms like internalized grammar, descriptive grammar, and prescriptive grammar. So internalized grammar, we earlier also talked about this when we were talking about the innateness of language. So we say, according to Chomsky, language is innate. That means the ability to acquire or learn a language is there within the person when he or she is born, right? So that is innate, lad. That's what we were talking. So this internalized grammar, so the set of rules and principles is within the person when he grows up, okay? By means of learning, by means of acquisition, the person or the learner internalizes the set of grammar rules, which in other words, we can say competence. Okay, so that is the competence. Internalized grammar or competence. Or in other words, we can just simply introduce it as the knowledge, the grammar knowledge of the person, which is there in the mind of the person, right? And now we come to the two opposing terms, descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. So we are looking at grammar from another side with these terms, right? Descriptive grammar, now as I was telling yesterday, it just talks about the set of grammar rules or simply the formulation of the set of grammar rules. In other words, we can introduce descriptive grammar with constitutive rules. Constitutive rules. Now, you know the word constitution, right? You know the word constitution and you have the idea what it means. So this is somewhat related to that idea. Constitutive rules. That means the rules that are applied in constituting the mechanism of language. In one word, grammar, right? The grammar rule. So that is descriptive grammar that you need to understand. So here we are not talking about whether the learner should not do this sort of mistakes and whether the learner should learn these types of grammar, nothing like that, right? So just the formulation of a set of grammar rules under which we are talking about the descriptive grammar, right? But contrasting to that, there's another concept, prescriptive grammar, prescriptive. So in other words, we can call it as regulatory rules also, regulatory rules. So constitutive rules versus regulatory rules. So what do you mean by prescriptive? Now you know the word prescriptive, it's coming from prescribe. Prescribe, and we have the common noun prescription also. So prescriptive grammar means establishing and maintaining a standard of correctness. So this is the keyword as I told you yesterday. So the purpose behind the prescriptive grammar is to establish a standard of correctness in the language, telling, okay, now this is the correct norm. You all should follow this. And on the other hand, this is not to be followed or used. This is wrong. The other hand, prescribe. So you need to be clear between the two words prescribe and proscribe. Prescribe means recommending, in a way recommending and telling that this is correct and you should follow this, dictating something to be correct, prescribing something. Okay, and the opposite word is proscribe, telling not to do certain things, either in writing or in pronunciation, not to do certain things. That is prescribing. So all these prescribing, proscribing are coming under prescriptive grammar, right? Because the purpose of prescriptive grammar is, as you can see in this line, to establish and also to maintain correctness, standard of correctness in the language. So it tries to make the learners prevent doing mistakes and errors and doing using wrong language. Okay, right. So that is the difference between prescriptive grammar and the descriptive grammar. So constitutive rules determine constitutive, please 1 second, please. All right, I'm really sorry I had an urgent call. All right, so I was talking about these constitutive rules determine how something works and regulatory rules control behavior. Now, this is very important, okay? I hope you all have understood the difference, the basic difference between descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. So accordingly, you need to understand this. Constitutive rules means descriptive grammar. So what is the task of the descriptive grammar or the set of constitutive rules? To determine how something works, right? How something works, and regulatory rules control behavior. So when we look at the function of descriptive grammar, what do we see? Descriptive grammar shows us how the mechanism of language works with the set of grammar rules, how language works. In detail, it shows. That is the task of descriptive grammar. And on the other hand, when we talk about the regulatory rules or prescriptive grammar, it doesn't merely show how language works. It tries to control the use of language, telling you should do this because this is correct, and you should not do this because this is wrong. This is against grammar. So controlling the behavior. Behavior here means the use of language. That is the role of regulatory rules or the prescriptive grammar, right? Okay, so if the former are violated, former means the constitutive rules are violated, the thing cannot work, right? The mechanism, the language cannot work. But if the latter are violated, latter means the regulatory rules, the thing works but crudely, awkwardly, or rudely. Now, is that clear? If the constitutive rules are broken or violated, are not followed, of course, a language cannot work. If we break the grammar rules, of course, we can't use the language properly and accurately. The thing cannot work altogether. But if regulatory rules are violated, what will happen? Still the language can work. Language can work, but that will not be accurate or appropriate. It will be crude or awkward, inappropriate, even rude. That is the difference between these two sets of grammars. Okay, descriptive versus prescriptive grammar, or else you can use the term constitutive rules and regulatory rules. So anyway, constitutive rules are there in descriptive grammar and regulatory rules are there in prescriptive grammar, right? Okay, so this now there's an example also. Now, what do you think about this? Cat the dog chased. Violates the constitutive rules of the language and is thus considered ungrammatical. Now, you know, this is not a correct sentence now. This is not a correct sentence. Cat, the dog chased. Actually, what should be? The dog chased the cat. Subject, verb, object. But in this sentence, we have the object first and then the articles, misplacement of the words, right? Misarrangement, the subject in the middle, and finally verb. So this is not the correct sentence pattern. So here we have violated the constitutive rules. If we use this sort of sentences, of course, we won't be communicating anything correctly. The language does not work here, right? Okay. And what do you think about this example? He did good on the exam. So now we all are listening, I think. So do you have any idea, anything to talk about this second sentence? He did good on the exam. What is the problem here? As you can guess, I have given the explanation, but as you can observe, what is the problem? Is there a problem, or if there's a problem, how you can correct it and how does it affect to the listener? These sort of things. Any idea? Yes. Hello.
Grammatically,
Yeah, ma'am.
not correct.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but then
Hmm.
there was a meaning, but
Hmm.
when it read, there's
Hmm.
some odd, some
Oddness.
less.
We feel
Yes,
odd.
can feel. Yes.
Yeah. Although sentence is quite okay when we think about
Yeah.
grammar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something odd there. Right. So that oddness is to do with this regulatory rules. Of course, now hear it good on the exam would be fine to some extent. Right now, we are not violating grammar here. No? Sentence is grammatical. There's no violation of the grammar. But still, we can't accept it fully. So, how are you going to correct this? He did, yeah?
Well,
Yes, he did well on the exam, we can say. Like that. So that's only using the, now what's the difference then? Good. Using here good instead of well. Actually, good is an adjective, right? And well is the adverb. So if we are modifying did, which is the verb, there has to be the adverb, well, not good. Usually we are using adjectives to modify nouns, no? Not actions. So that is a problem, right? But still, I am not telling that this sentence is 100% grammatically correct. There's that big grammar issue there, but still can manage, but that unacceptable problem is there. Okay. So that is something like, even with this kind of problems, we can manage, but our sentence looks a bit odd and not acceptable, awkward, inappropriate. That problem is there. So we can understand the second sentence in relation to the violation of regulatory rules, whereas the first sentence we can understand in relation to the violation of constitutive rules. Okay, so this is a simple example for you to understand these two types of grammar rules there. Okay, right. Then we'll move on to the fallacies concerning grammar. Fallacies here means misbelief. That's the idea. So now grammar is a word which we are living with from the day we start learning a language. No? When we just think about the school system in our country, right? We start learning English language in grade, which grade? When did you all start learning English language? Because English is not your mother tongue, no? Hopefully. So you started learning English in which grade?
Grade 2 or 3, I guess.
2. It is, I think, 3, right? Yeah. But now in grade 1 and 2, the teachers are exposing the kids to the English language through activity-based learning. That's there. But the textbooks are starting at grade 3, right? English textbooks, workbooks, and all this.
yes, ma'am. Most of in the government schools, they are starting from grade 3.
I'm talking about the government schools. Yeah, right. So what about the others? Private schools or maybe international schools?
Yeah, ma'am. They are starting from grade 1,
From
and
the
the
beginning
textbooks
also.
From the very
yeah,
beginning.
Yeah.
very beginning.
Yes, and the medium is also English, no? So that's a different context, different environment. Anyway, so usually in the majority of the schools, majority means the government schools in our country, you're starting from grade 3, and you can just check, even from grade 3 onwards, the kids are exposed to grammar, right? So they are living with grammar right from the very beginning of learning their second language. So that much they are exposed to grammar, right? Now you can check whether there's any area where any single kind of grammar point is not focused. There are situations, right? Okay, so I'm just talking about the word grammar here. But now in this slide, we are going to think about certain fallacies, right? Some misconceptions, misbeliefs. People think that these are correct, but actually there's no logic there, no base, no foundation. Okay, when we think in detail. So here you can find certain such ideas that have been stored in the minds of the learners regarding grammar, right? So they are in point form, but you can find the details in the module, right? Okay, there are languages that have no grammar or little grammar. That's one idea. So people think, I'm not telling that you have these beliefs, okay? But maybe you have heard or you may have read, people are telling or writing. Sometimes you yourselves might have thought of some of these things, some of these ideas, especially maybe you may be teachers or will be teachers. If you are already teachers, you may have faced this sort of things, right? So there are languages that have no grammar or little grammar. Do you think so? That there are languages in the world that do not have any grammar system or little grammar, maybe very less grammar. That's a wrong point, wrong notion. That's it. That's one fallacy. So whatever the language, it has grammar, because language, as I was talking yesterday, hope you remember, okay, language is a system. Language is a system. So hope you all remember. And why do we say language is a system? Because there are smaller units inside the language. And all these smaller units can function independently as well as in connection to one another. So when they function both independently and in connection to one another, it happens in an organized way, in an organized kind of way, not in a messy way, right? In a kind of organized way. So this organized way is what we here point out as the set of grammar rules of that language. So we can't say that there are languages existing in the world without any grammar. There has to be a mechanism functioning underneath the language. Okay, so the first point is a wrong point. And what do you think about the next one? Certain types of grammars are simpler and hence more primitive than others, while other grammars, like what? Particularly grammars which make use of inflections or word endings to express distinctions, are more complex and hence more advanced. So a kind of discrimination actually here, right? Certain types of grammars are simple, whereas certain other types of grammars are advanced. How do they say? How do people say like that? Because simple grammars means they are more primitive, means they don't have many they're simple. That's why they look simple. Whereas how do people observe certain grammars to be more advanced? Because they are complex, not that simple. Complex means they have so many inflections, word endings, right? Prefixes, attachment of prefixes, suffixes to the roots, so many different types of morphemes, inflectional morphemes, derivational morphemes, etc. Right? Quite complicated system of word formation, and not only that, complicated systems of sentence formation. So complex. Because of that, they are advanced. Actually, this is another, this is given as another fallacy concerning grammar. So there are no superior grammars or inferior grammars. Do you think that we can ever compare and contrast the grammar system between Sinhala and English or Tamil and English? We can compare, no issue, but we can't discriminate, telling that one is better than the other because that is much more complex and advanced. Nothing like that, but there are people who are doing that, right? So that's a wrong thing, wrong misconception. And grammar should be logical. Okay, so I'm talking about these points, right? The third point. Grammar should be logical. Now, what do you all think about this third point? The third point, the idea is grammars should be logical. People expect the grammar to be logical. But in the practical sense, do you think all the time grammar, be English grammar or Sinhala grammar or Tamil grammar, whatever, is logical, to be logical? Do you find the grammar set of grammar rules to be logical all the time? Any idea if you have?
Ma'am, logical in the sense it should be, I mean, it should be explained. Is that so?
Explain, and there's a maybe transparent or rational way of happening things, right? That is what you mean by logical. No? There's a rational way. You should be able to justify, right? Reason out clearly. A happened because B happened like this, like that. In that kind of a manner. Logical means that. But actually, in when we practically use languages, do you think all the time grammars are logical? No, there are situations where we
No,
can't
it's not
All
Why?
the
Yeah.
time.
Not all the time, right?
Yeah.
Right. Grammar
But
is
it
not.
has to be logical, no, ma'am.
That is the fallacy, right? That is the fallacy, and that is why this point has come under the fallacies concerning grammar. People expect grammar to be logical. This is the idea. You see, grammar should be logical. That is what people think. But actually, grammars are not logical, and grammars can't be logical. On which basis do we expect grammar to be logical all the time? On which basis? Right?
But ma'am, without,
Yeah.
I mean, without any, I mean, logical reasons, how can we just, I mean, set a grammar? So with when it cannot be explained why this came,
Yeah.
so it can't be, no.
Yeah, that is the thing, right? It can't be. That is how we think. But actually, do you find reasons for everything behind what's happening in grammar, right? Everything. There are situations which cannot be explained. In the sense, can be explained, but explaining is something else, okay? Right? But rationally, explaining rationally, I don't think we can do it all the time, right? Now, for example, of course, if we take some more time, we'll be able to think of more examples, but I'm rushing through the time also. But just think about the pronunciations, right? Okay, so we have, for example, earlier also I was talking about this ending, right, past form. Okay, formation of the past form of the verb. How do we pronounce? The sound is there, t sound is there, and id sound is there, right? So it's like, for example, walked. I'm just making you all think only, okay, right? I'm not asking you to accept blindfoldedly what I'm telling. I'm making you all think only, okay? Walked, and hope you can see what I'm writing. I'm writing the past form of verbs, okay? And my third one is this. Okay, so how do you say these three words? All are there in the past form, right? Ed, you can see ed, past tense, right? But pronunciation, how do you say?
It differs. Walked, cleaned, painted.
Walked, clean, painted.
Okay, according to the standard pronunciation, standard British pronunciation.
The L is silent.
Okay. Right. Now, just pay attention to the underlined part. I have underlined ed, you know. So just think how you all are pronouncing. What is the end sound of
Ed,
this?
id, and
Ed.
Yeah, and when we say walked, t, the final sound is t. Walked,
Rock.
walked. And when we say cleaned, the final sound is d, right? That means ud, d. And when we say, actually in Sri Lanka, we say painted, painted, but it is supposed to be pronounced with this final sound, id. It's like painted, painted. It's not painted, but actually it's more like that sound, right? Painted, painted. So you can see it, sorry, ut, ud, and id. Three different sounds for the same ed, right? Same ed. You can find. In writing, we write only ed, no? But in pronunciation, there is this variation. And there are reasons. Okay, there are reasons. But sometimes we don't find enough reasons to, enough logic to reason out why it happens. Especially when we talk about id, right? So we pronounce t sound when there's a voiceless consonant preceding. And we pronounce or we produce d sound when there's a voiced consonant preceding. But id sound, there's no, I mean, maybe different writers may be telling different things, but still no clear, transparent reason. So, just like we have for the earlier two. So that is only one example, right? But there may be so many situations where we can't really understand why certain things are happening in grammar. This is related to pronunciation, but there are, I mean, grammar is related to writing also, no? Not only the pronunciation, right? There are ways of using even punctuation. So grammar is a very vast area. So we won't be able to find reasons for each and every happening in grammar. So we can't expect grammar to be 100% logical all the time. It is logical. That is true. But 100% logicality, I don't think is possible. And if it's that logical, okay, don't you think that will be very easy for the beginners to learn English? If we talk about English grammar, right? If English grammar is very much 100% logical, just like mathematics, okay, it would have been very much easy, you know, for the beginners to learn English language fast. No, it's not like that all the time. So there are certain issues there. So the problem is actually we need to understand this, the real nature of grammar. We can't always expect grammar to be logical. There may be certain situations where we can't expect any reasonable or rational explanation. We have to admit it as it is. That's my point, okay? In certain situations, we'll have to admit them as they are, something as it is, without questioning. So we need to by heart, maybe. Otherwise, we will not be able to use the language properly. That is the point I'm addressing.
When we're giving commands,
yeah,
like that.
Sorry, dear, what is that? I did not hear.
When we are giving some commands, is there some grammatical combination?
Yeah. Yes, right? Okay. So I hope you all got my point here, right? There are situations now, if you are teachers, you can be very much alert on this point. Sometimes your students may be asking, teacher, why this happens, why that happens, etc. So there may be places where you have to ask the kid, your student, to admit it as it is, because beyond that point, there won't be rational explanations. I am not telling that grammar is like that there's no rationality. There's nothing like that. We can explain, but there may be certain points here and there, right? Especially this is valid for a person who is learning a non-native, for a non-native learner, a non-native speaker of a language. Because if it is a native, we don't have to question. We know from our birth, we exposed to our mother tongue, right? But when we learn a second language, That is not our native language. So we try to build up relationships among the points we learn. So sometimes we stuck here and there without being able to build up some relationships among the points we learn and live. So in such a situation, what I'm telling is that you should learn grammar, right? You should learn grammar, but if such situations come, you will have to learn it as it is. Now, there's another example like stress, suprasegmental phonemes. Now, in this module also, we are going to talk about the suprasegmental phonemes. Suprasegmental phonemes are like stress, intonation, right? So they are also grammar. Segmental as well as suprasegmental, all are considered to be parts of grammar. So, okay, I'll give you a different example then. Now, for example, are you hungry? Are you hungry? That is my question. Example, okay? Right? So if you were listening to me clearly, you might have noticed my voice is going up towards the end of the question. Are you hungry? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
My voice is going up, which means in phonetics and phonology, we explain that as the rising intonation, using the rising intonation. Towards the end of the question, my intonation goes up. My voice level goes up. So that is rising intonation. What's your name? What's your name? Right? So this is a different question. So my voice level goes down. That is falling intonation. So these things are there within the native English speaker. Because from birth onwards, the native English speaker is exposed to these things. But being the non-native English speakers, we need to learn these things anew. But do you find any logical reason why we should raise our voice towards the end of the yes-no question? And why we should fall our voice towards the end of a WH question? There's no logical reason. Right? That is how it happens. Naturally, that is how it happens. So no reason to say why. Okay, so grammar is something natural plus logical. But you can't expect it to be that much mechanical to be 100% logical. Am I confusing you all? Yes? Hello?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
No, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So don't think too much anyway. Well, so we'll think about the next one. Grammar result in deterioration or alternatively evolution. This is also a kind of notion that is there among the people. Grammar result in deterioration. And you know what deterioration means? Getting something down, right? So, right, destroying, kind of going to the negativity, right? Getting destructed, deterioration. So grammar result in deterioration or alternatively evolution. Evolution, you know, the word Sinhala word is vikasha, right? Either grammar result in the sense certain grammar rules are produced as a result of the deterioration or evolution. So that is a kind of idea that is there, which I directly took from the module, but I'm not going to talk in detail with any example here. You just take it as a kind of fallacy that exists among the people, but the real idea is actually, the reality is grammar doesn't have anything to do with deterioration of the language, right? Not with the deterioration of the language, but grammar can result from evolution to some extent. Evolution means developing, right? Vikasha, you know what Vikasha is? From the history, from the point of its origin up to now, the language is developing. Any language is developing. So that is what you mean by evolution. So in that process, new grammar rules can be created. Right? That can happen, but not from deterioration, right? Okay. And there's another one. People are taught the grammar of their native language. What do you think about this one? People are taught the grammar of their native language or the mother tongue. Do you think so? Now, you have your
Yeah.
native language. Are you learning? I mean, are you taught the grammar of your mother tongue by somebody?
No.
No.
No, actually, I'm not talking about the school context right now. When you go to school, definitely there's a period now where we learn our mother tongue, Sinhala or Tamil. I'm not talking about that, okay? As a person is growing, is there anybody who is teaching the grammar rules of the mother tongue? No, no one is teaching. Then how do you get the grammar's knowledge of your native language? How? If no one is teaching you the grammar, then how do you know the grammar?
By using
By the practice.
Practice because of the exposure. Yeah, right. Yeah, when you start using the language by the age of 1 year or 1.5 years, your adults are talking to you, your parents are talking to you. You listen to so many expressions, right? Language expression. So with the exposure, you automatically, actually, you are not learning, right? No one is learning the grammar of his or her native language. What is the better word then? Not learning.
exposing.
Expose means acquiring or acquisition. You say acquisition. So we normally say the idea is this: a person acquires his first language or the mother tongue, whereas a person is learning plus acquiring his second language. Okay, so there's a clear difference between learning and acquisition. Here, this point says are taught means learning, right? Learning, so it doesn't happen actually, right? This is a wrong notion, right? It is actually acquisition. Okay, and what about the next one? There are completely random differences among the languages of the world. Completely random differences among the languages of the world. So it's not something that much important or a big point. So completely random differences. What do you think? There are so many languages in the world. So are there, I mean, these languages are different from one another. That's clear. Random differences, completely random differences, or what else? Do you have anything to say about the languages used in the world? I don't think that we should go up to the level of comparing and contrasting this. But other than random differences, there may be some logical differences as well among the languages of the world, right? That can happen. But I'm actually at this point, I'm not going to talk more about that. Okay, you can simply think about the Sinhala language and the Tamil language, and Sinhala language and the English language. These are the languages you all are very much familiar with. So do you find that only random differences are there? Only random differences? Random kind of not systematic kind of differences. There are systematic differences as well, right? For example, what do you think about these sentence patterns between English and Sinhala? In Sinhala, we have S, O, V. Also in Tamil, right? Okay. Am I correct? Subject,
Yeah, ma'am.
object, and verb. Whereas in English, it's the other way around. SVO. So these are not anything to do with the random kind of differences, systematic differences. Okay, right. Anyway, don't have to think too much about this point. I'm just dragging your attention to these different types of fallacies here. That's all, right? Next one, sentences a person produces directly reflect his or her grammatical knowledge. Right. It's quite interesting point. Sentences a person produces directly reflect his or her grammatical knowledge. What do you have to say about this point? I'm interested to know your ideas. This is related to what we discussed yesterday also. Do you think so? Now, it's like this. If I just clear the point, you should just think about yourself, right? From the sentences you utter, your grammatical knowledge is reflected.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Yes.
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 No, ma'am, but at times
Think a little bit before you talk, right?
sentences a person produces directly.
Yeah, Ilma.
No, we can't accept this point.
Why? Why you can't
Because
accept?
at times, even if we know the correct grammar, correct grammar, so maybe because of the nervousness or shyness or excitement, we may collapse while talking.
Okay, Ilma, thanks for your idea. And anybody else? Tarani, you are going to say something?
Yeah, ma'am, I think this is that key terms that we talked yesterday, competence and the performance.
That's it.
This is tolerate within that, I guess.
Yes, that's the thing. And there was another one also telling, Rausana, who is that? Yeah,
Yes,
what is
ma'am.
your idea?
I also grammatical knowledge. It is the distinction between competence and performance.
That is the point here, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Actually, we have the knowledge, we have the ability, everything is there stored within ourselves, but unfortunately, it doesn't come out as it is when we perform the language. So no one can judge us. No one can judge the grammatical knowledge we have only by looking at the sentences we produce. That's a clear distinction between the competence and the performance, right? But unfortunately, this happens, right? What do you think? This is a common fallacy that is prevailing among the people. Don't you think so? When a person is talking in English, right?
Yes.
If he or she is making mistakes, then there are many people to jump to the conclusion that, okay, that person does not know anything about English language, killing the queen, a lot of things, right? But really, within him, he may know better than what he says, right? So that is there. Okay. Well, there is only one sense of the term grammar. One sense, actually, I'm not going to detail here. One sense means now, this is actually wrong, okay? Because this is what we have been talking even from yesterday. When we talk about grammar, of course, the single word grammar, it means the set of grammar rules, the set of rules and principles that are governing the function of language. But when you think in detail, right, there are so many meanings inside the term grammar. Like what we discussed yesterday also, we have this internalized grammar, competence, and also what we perform, performance, and the constitutive rules, regulatory rules. So there are so many meanings incorporated within the term grammar. It's not that simple. We can't limit something small to within the word grammar. Right? It's very broad. Okay. And the last point in the slide, equating the grammar of the spoken language with that of the written language. People are equating in the sense that they try to compare the spoken grammar of the spoken language and the grammar of the written language. Well, now what do you all think about this? when you think about the English language, right? Now, if it is Sinhala, of course, there's a difference. Don't you think so? In Sinhala, we have two varieties, no? Kathana Bhashava and Liyana Bhashava. Spoken language and the written language. In relation to the Sinhala language, right? But what are your observations in relation to the English language? Well, before we go into the English, now there are people whose mother tongue is Tamil here. What do you think about the Tamil language? Do you have separate varieties which you can use when you write in Tamil and when you talk in Tamil?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Different.
Different. Just like in Sinhala, you
Yes,
use
yes.
two different. Are there huge differences?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Right. Then what do you all think about English? Any idea about the English language? Spoken variety and the written variety, are they exactly the same or different? You can just think practically, okay?
Yeah, ma'am, bit different because some are using very modified words, shortened words when they're talking. While we kind
But
of
in writing, we
use the correct spellings, but when we talking, we are not using the proper word. We are not pronouncing the proper way, and we are shortening it and
shortening.
going for the modern word.
Okay, there are so many abbreviations, shortened terms, right? Like going to gonna, that kind of shortenings are also there, and a lot of colloquial terms when you think about the vocabulary, right? Okay, so there are clear differences. And also when you think about the varieties, formal and informal varieties, usually I'm talking about the English language here, right? But this is common to the other languages as well. In writing, we tend to use mostly the formal style, whereas in spoken language, when you use the language, the spoken variety, that would be quite informal style, right? And but that there are also crossings, okay? Among these also crossings, because now written means, don't misunderstand that written means all the time formal. You can write an SMS, okay? And you can write an email to one of your friends. So where you don't want to be that much formal. And when you talk about the spoken language, that is also not all the time, that won't be informal. Just think about, you are delivering a speech in front of a formal gathering, in a meeting, in a board meeting. So you have to be formal. So there are exceptional situations here and there. Okay, so this is a fallacy. That's the point. Equating the grammar of the spoken language with that of the written language. That means spoken grammar and written grammar are the same. That is a fallacy. No, they are not the same. That is the reality. Okay. Right. So these are some of the misbeliefs, as I told you. So on which you have to be alert actually, right? Especially now, these ideas are quite important. Practically when you work in your field, especially if you are teachers, right? Be alert on these factors. And well then, okay, so actually I wanted to drag your attention to these small areas. Right now, I think I have come to the end of that area. And next, the third area, linguistics and the components of language. So this is the major area. Now, major area in the sense, under this, we will be talking more about the next subtopics, right? So let me tell you the components, right? We'll begin with this, the components of language. When we talk about the components, I think several times I have mentioned about these components. Even yesterday I was talking about this, these different parts which form the language, which form the major part called language. They are the components. So the language consists of components like phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatic. So these are the very things which I introduced yesterday to you as the smaller units that we can see within language that functions as a system. So the same things actually, right? Either we can call them smaller units or subsystems within language or components of language, or else we can identify them to be the levels of analyzing language, right? So in whatever way, we are referring to the same set: phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatic. So these terms are very important, especially if you are linguistic students. You have to have a very thorough idea regarding these 5 levels or 5 components. So here there would be very brief introductions to these components, right? And your module will be covering, I think, as far as I remember, almost all these components. Yeah, phonetics, phonology is there. Some parts from morphology are there. Syntax, I can't remember. Semantics, pragmatics, they are there, right? So you have to have very clear idea regarding these components, right? Then, actually, although you have the word phonology first, that is phonetics and phonology. Okay, that is the term. And actually speaking, phonetics is one area and phonology is another area. But both are interconnected. So that is why we say phonetics and phonology. So this component is based on the sounds, speech sounds. So phonology means, phonetics and phonology both mean the study of the speech sounds of a particular language. This is the key idea. This and this. This is the keyword actually, right? When you are talking about phonetics and phonology, remember this field, this area is based on the human speech sounds. So we can study the human speech sounds. We can study how these human speech sounds are produced. They are produced by the human beings, and that is why we call them human speech sounds. And these human beings are using these sounds for the purpose of communication, right? And that is why they are called speech sounds. So what are the human speech sounds, you know? Would you like to tell one or two? One or two? Yes. No, you all are not using human speech sounds. Only thing is you are using a lot, but now at the moment I'm asking you all to tell one or two. So you can't select which to say. Yes.
Ma'am, do you mean about the phonics? Phonics?
Yeah, one or two sounds.
Abacut, like?
Yes. There are many, okay? There are vowels, consonants, semi-vowels, diphthongs. So, for example, like A, E, O, E, U, vowels. And if you think about the consonants, K, P, B, M, Ch, J, right? If you think about semi-vowel, W, Y, etc. So we are going to learn. We are going to talk about all these things, right? In coming sessions, right? And the phonetics and phonology. So these are the human speech sounds. So the task of, the task in phonetics and phonology area is to study these human speech sounds, thinking about how they are produced. Now, human beings are producing these human speech sounds, you know. So how do we, of course, produce these sounds? Within our mouth, using our speech organs like lips, tongue, teeth, hard palate, soft palate, and we have vocal cords, right? Using all these speech organs, we produce human speech sounds. And that is discussed in phonetics under articulatory phonetics, right? Under articulatory, okay, what has happened? Okay, articulate means produce. So articulatory phonetics means the area where the production of human speech sounds is studied, right? So that is one area under phonetics. Another area under phonetics is the auditory phonetics. That is the term which we give to the area where the perception of human speech sounds is studied. Now perception here means, perceiving means understanding, right? Now I'm telling you, I'm issuing here a lot of human speech sounds from my end. So what are you doing there? Are you listening to me now? Are you hearing my voice? Or are you perceiving me? Three things are there. What do you do? Are you listening to me? Are you hearing me? Are you perceiving me? What?
Listening and perceiving.
Nothing there. Yeah. Right. There may be people who are right, who happen to hear me, right? At the moment, I don't know. I can't see anybody. Right. And listening, okay. But perceiving, perception, that's the most important thing. Perception means listening and understanding. That's it. So you can just listen to me. No issue. You can just listen to me without having an effort to understand what I'm telling. So then there is no perception happening. Okay. Perception means you listen and try to understand and try to take it to your minds regarding what I am telling here. Right. Okay. So here in phonetics, we have another branch called auditory phonetics, where how the listener, that means the receiver of the sounds, listens and understands the message. That incident is studied in auditory phonetics. You know, auditory is coming from audio, right? To do with the ear. So when the listener listens, the message is taken by the ear, right? And then the sound, the message is taken to the brain with the nerves, along with the nerves. So this whole thing is studied scientifically, okay? In the auditory phonetics area, perception, studying the perception, right? The third area is acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics talks about the physical properties of the sounds. Physical properties. That means now when the speaker produces a sound, it flows through the air to the listener's ear, right? Normally, as you all think, how does a sound travel through air? As you can guess simply, how does a sound travel through the air? Like what?
Waves.
Yes,
Sound
like
waves.
yes, like waves. Okay, and this is the simple thing happening. But there is a developed area under phonetics to study this, to study how the sounds are traveling through the air, how the sounds are transmitted, of course, from speaker to listener through air, right? Like what? Like waves, and there are ways and means to measure the fluctuations of these waves, right? There are equipments and there are measurements. So that's the length area, right? In detail, that part is studied in acoustic phonetics, right? So you can find phonetics is a very broad area, right? It's a very broad area where there are 3 sub areas: articulatory phonetics, auditory phonetics, and acoustic phonetics. So in common, phonetics means studying the human speech sounds. But if we study the human speech sounds in relation to their production, that is articulatory phonetics. If we study their perception by the listener, that will be the auditory phonetics. And if we study their physical properties, that will come under acoustic phonetics, right? Okay, so that is about phonetics, and phonology is a little bit advanced field than phonetics. In phonology, what is exactly happening is that we study how meaning can be conveyed by combining human speech sounds together. Okay, how we can combine several different human speech sounds and convey something meaningful to our listener, because combination can happen in different ways, no, right? So combination will be only if the combination is correct, we can convey an idea. And if we wrongly combine speech sounds, then our listener will not understand anything. So there are rules governing that. There are phonological rules here. So in phonetics and phonology in detail, we are discussing that aspect. Okay, right. So that is the first component, phonology. Phonology not in isolation, phonetics and phonology together, right? So that's the first component, first level of analyzing the language. And the second level, we have morphology. Morphology, the next bigger level, the study of the structure or form of words. Study of the structure or the word formation in a particular language and of their classification. Right. So simple terms, I can say morphology is the formation of words, studying the formation of words. Right. So although we tell it in one line like this, formation means we can form words in several different ways. No, we can add prefixes to different roots, and we can add suffixes to different roots, and there are different types of prefixes and suffixes that cannot be all the time going with the same type of roots. So there are so many rules governing word formation. Okay, so that area is studied in morphology. And the next level, syntax. In syntax, we talk about the sentence formation, the study of the order and arrangement of words into larger units. Larger units here means phrases or sentences. All right. As well as the relationships holding between elements in these hierarchical units. So relationships means studying how the subject is related to the verb, how the verb is related to the object, or how the verb is related to the complement, or how the verb is related to the adverbial. So studying how to order words in a sentence or in a phrase, as well as studying how each and every word is related to one another. Right? That aspect is studied in syntax. Okay, right. And then semantics. Now, as I told to you, semantics means meaning. Right? So in semantics, we study how meaning is conveyed in words, phrases, or clauses. Now, I told you, without meaning, nothing would be useful now, right? We can form very nice words. We can form grammatically correct sentences or phrases, but the ultimate purpose of all these constructions is to convey a meaning. But if we fail to convey any meaning out of our constructions, they all will collapse actually, right? There's no point in constructing words, phrases, or sentences. So meaning is the topmost important thing here. Without meaning, nothing would be possible. So in semantics area, we study how meaning can be conveyed through words, through phrases or clauses, because the thing is now meaning is not that simple, right? By telling a word, we can convey a lot of things. No, superficial meaning is there. But now you may have heard denotations and connotations. Have you? I'm simply asking from you just to know, okay? Denotative meaning, connotative meaning, that aspect to you, is there anybody who is aware? I think we have a part in this module. We'll see. We will be talking about these things. Any idea about denotative meanings, hidden meanings, superficial meanings, connotative meanings, etc.? Anybody who is familiar with the meaning aspect of language? I just want one word answer, yes or no only. Yeah. No idea. Is that the silence means? Well, so therefore, now, if you do not have a very big idea, I'm not going to that aspect now, right? Because I might be putting a lot of things into your minds and you might confuse, right? But simply to say, let me tell you, meaning is not simple thing, right? Because there are so many different layers of meaning which we can find in words and in utterances, in sentences. When we take a word, it can have at least meaning in two levels, right? In one level, we can see the superficial meaning, the word meaning. Okay. And in another level, once we put that word into a context, right, we may be able to understand something else other than the word meaning or the superficial meaning. Okay, the hidden meaning. And the same kind of things we can explain like denotative meanings and connotative meanings, right? Denotative meanings is the word meaning, the superficial meaning, whereas connotative meaning is simply all the other related things, right? Now, for one simple example, just think about the word home, H-O-M-E, home, right? What is the denotative meaning? Denotative meaning, home is a building, right? It's a building, kind of structure where a family lives. All right, so that's the denotative meaning. But what are the connotative meanings of the word home? My word is home, okay, not house, home. What kind of things are coming to your mind when I say home? What are the things that come to your mind? What kind of ideas or feelings do you get when you listen to the word home? Yeah.
Family.
What? Sorry?
A family.
Family. Yes. What else?
Some goods inside the
Furniture. Okay.
furniture.
All right. And
Unity.
unity. Yes.
Affection we get.
Affection, love, caring, warmth, safety, unity, etc., etc. Don't you think so? Right? When you see the word home or when you listen to the word home, those are the things. Family, maybe mother, father, husband, wife, children, all are coming at once to our mind, right? These are the connotations of the word home. So that is realizing the meaning of the word home in another different level. That is not the superficial meaning, right? That is what the word home connotes to us. So I only wanted to explain the fact that the meaning is a little bit, it's not that simple. We can understand meaning in so many different layers. So in semantics, we are learning all these things. That's the only fact I wanted to tell you here, okay? Otherwise, don't bother too much about denotative and connotative meanings. Later, we will learn these things. Okay. And then finally, the pragmatics. the area called pragmatics. Now, this is slightly similar to semantics, right? Because in pragmatics also we talk about the meaning, but there's a difference here. Here we talk about the meaning of a word or a sentence in relation to its context, in relation to how that word has been used in a particular sentence or in a particular situation. The study of the functions of language and its use in context. Use in context. That is the idea of this pragmatics. Now, in semantics, of course, we talk about the meaning without referring to the context in particular, right? Usually. But in pragmatics, we try to understand the meaning and the function of a linguistic item as how it has been used in a particular situation or a context. So that is the simple explanation I can give you at the moment when I'm introducing these different components of language, right? Okay. So then you need to be clear about these components of language, right? So now let me introduce the structure of this module also at this time, right? The module is linguistic structure of modern English, and I will show you the content now. Please give me 1 second to share my screen with the PDF. Right. Okay. So hope you all can see. Now this is the content of this module, right? I can't remember. I think as far as I remember, I have put this in the Google Classroom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you might have collected this, so that better, if you still have not taken this, better to take this, so that by looking at this, you can get some idea regarding what we are discussing, what kind of areas are covered in this particular module. You can get a very clear idea. So far I have been talking about this area, right? I have finished the first part under the nature of language and linguistics. I have been discussing these areas, and the next I am going to start with the second part, consonants and vowels, right? In consonants and vowels, we are going to talk about these sub areas, the spoken versus the written form of language, and the production of speech sounds and consonants, vowels, and their function classification. So this is a little bit a lengthy area, but quite interesting, right? Quite interesting. It will be interesting if you actively participate in the discussions and just open your mouth widely and pronounce and produce, articulate these sounds. It will be really interesting area. Okay, right. So that is the next topic I'm going to start. And after that, the third area, phonology, phonotactics, and suprasegmentals. And this is where we are going to touch upon the phonology part, right? Now, in the second area, consonants and vowels, that will be totally based on phonetics. The third area, phonology, there are phonemes and phonemic rules are there, phonological processes, phonotactics, little bit advanced discussion, and suprasegmental features are also there, and syllable structure, right? So we have some hours allocated for that. And the fourth topic, the internal structure of words and processes of word formation. In one word, of course, morphology. This is a discussion based on morphology component of language, right? So under that, we are going to talk about the morphemes and word formation processes and something from idioms. Right, and then we have grammatical categories and word classes. This is from syntax. Okay, so under grammatical categories, we have several of these, and we are going to talk something about the word classes also. Right, and then we have in number 6, lexical semantics. This is where we are touching semantics. Right, So under that, traditional semantics and basic semantic relationships, I'm not going to read all these things, but you have this document with you all. So we are covering the semantic component in number 6, and that is the end of the discussion, right? Okay, so altogether 36 hours plus some more revision and discussion time are there, hours are there. So these are the areas which you are going to cover up in this module. So once we finish this, you would get a sound knowledge regarding almost all the 4 components: phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. And pragmatics are not very much covered here, right? Other than that, all the other components are covered, right? So that is the nature of the module. So now can I know whether you got some idea now regarding, you already have got an idea, I know that, but regarding what we are going to discuss throughout the module and what kind of area is covered, that knowledge, I hope you could get now, right? You have now. Okay. Well then, okay, any question, anything you need to raise or ask? Yeah. No questions. I have a question then. Right, I need an honest answer. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, if I just talk about myself, because I'm very particular about the students' involvement in the lectures. Okay, in the sense, of course, frankly speaking, I don't want to be talking in isolation without knowing whether the students are listening and whether they are understanding what I am telling like this. So I highly expect the student involvement. That's one thing. And my question is this. This even before the question, of course, now when the students are involved, they can involve if they are ready for that, right? They have to be ready with some stuff beforehand. So usually in my lectures, I send the note beforehand the lecture. I'm doing so many online lectures in several programs, including the master's level. So my habit is actually before the lecture, I'm sending the note, so that I make sure that the students receive their copies of the note. And by the time they log into the meeting, they have gone through the note, right? So I make an assurance with that. But this is somewhat different, right? I am not in the habit of sending you any note beforehand because I know you already have the module with you. But my problem is whether you are familiar with the things they are in the module, because I do not know whether I'm like when I'm starting a new topic or when I'm having a discussion, I don't know whether already you have any familiarity with that area, or else I'm blank actually, thinking that whether you have got any kind of stuff before you see my screen related to what I'm going to discuss. So I have naturally that problem actually, because I'm not sending you any notes now. So now my question is this, okay? Are you reading the module as a habit? So I really expect honest answers from you. Whatever the answer, I'm okay with, right? I just want to know the real scenario. That's why. Are you just, do you allocate some minutes in your time to go through the module, this relevant module, or is this the first time you are reading the topics from my screen? Yeah.
Ma'am, normally I'm reading my module, but I think I have received a different book instead of this. So I checked with Ilma today. I have to check with Mr. Irshad, no, someone who coordinates the call.
Better. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have this, ma'am. I was so confused
Really?
because of that.
So, so I also have the module with me. So if you want, I can upload it in the Google Classroom so that you can
Please, ma'am.
check.
Then I can take a printout from there if you
All
don't
right.
mind.
Yeah, yeah, I'll upload it. Right?
Thank
Sure.
you, ma'am.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is that actually, now, if I'm sending you the notes, at least I have the assurance that you may be going through it. But now you have the module already with you, so I don't know. Because without having some idea, if you are listening to these things for the first time in your life, it may be somewhat, in one hand, boring, right? On the other hand, will take some time to process, to understand. It is not advantageous for you. That's why. So as students who are following a higher course, right? You need to allocate some time from your private life, personal life, to be familiar with the stuff. So I'm telling it, I don't know, I'm telling it too much, but all the time I have to tell it because I need you to be familiar. Without familiarity, please don't think of attending the lecture because you might not get certain things, right? And if you have already read the stuff and come to the lecture, then you know, right? You already know something now. Then it will be easy for you to process the things in the mind. You will clearly understand what I am telling. But if you listen to these things for the first time from my mouth, maybe somewhat difficult. So hope as adult students, you understand what I'm telling. And we are not physically meeting also now, right? So this is online. So the whole burden is upon your hands, upon your shoulders to learning thing. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Roxana, you said anything?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. I also had this module, but I read every day. I'm reading. And the
Okay.
first semester, the January, I didn't participate in this module.
Uh-huh.
So I searched from the YouTube and I got notes of your madam. I was the students of you in slide, madam.
Really?
Yeah,
When?
yeah.
When?
In 2011-12, madam.
Really? Oh, of
Yeah.
course. Now the thing is, I can't recognize you here anyway. If I see you, I may be able to,
Yes,
but
okay.
from the name, I can't remember. Right, anyway, glad to know that
Yes,
our
ma'am.
students are there.
Happy to meet you, ma'am, actually.
Okay. Right. So still we are working there. Fine. Well,
Yeah.
so no,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not going to waste the other's time. So I was just telling something common, right? Okay. So next, then we have to start our discussion on the consonants and vowels. But the thing is, the time is over. No, it's true that half an hour was wasted at the beginning, but I am not in a position to continue after 9 o'clock. So therefore, I'll be stopping here. And the next day, I will be starting from consonants and vowels. There are so many sub areas. So we'll be starting our discussion. Please be ready and come for the lecture the next day, then all of you. All right.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, then have a nice day. Good night, all of you.
Good night, ma'am. Thank you very much.